Slick Podcast Control calling the Exchequer. Are you receiving? Slick Control calling the Exchequer. Are you receiving? Over.
This is Captain John Marshall from the Deep Space Cruiser Exchequer. Receiving you loud and clear.
Good to hear your voice, Captain. For some reason I've not been able to send or receive any comms from outside of our planet. What's your current status? Over.
We are currently holding in near-Earth orbit, as close as we can right now.
As close as you can get right now? Captain Marshall, is there a problem?
Slick Control, what's with all the satellites? These were not here when we left.
Captain, a lot has changed since you left, and due to what you've just related, none of it good. How long have you been away?
38 months and 3 days, sir.
Captain Marshall, time is short. I need to ask you, have you been successful in the mission the Slick Podcast requested of you?
Affirmative. We have tracked and successfully acquired the Black Knight satellite as you requested. But with all these others barring our way, we will need to plow the road to remove them first, to enable the redeployment of the acquisition.
Do what you see as necessary, Captain. My podcast needs more listeners and subscribers. This is priority one. Move that space junk out of the way.
Roger that, Slick Control. Understood. More subscribers and coverage needed. Charging and locking the main forward batteries now. Beginning removal. Exchequer out.
Roger, roger. Understood. Good luck.
You have tuned in for a Slick Podcast. I'm here to seek the truth. Live from Scotland around the UK. The one and only Slick Podcast. Enjoy the show. Can I ask important questions? No matter how bizarre the truth might be. Tune in for Slick Podcast. Keeping it real, keeping it groovy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or a very good day to you when and wherever you're listening from, and a very warm welcome to the show. I'm your host, Simon Laurie King. Coming up on today's show, what are dreams? Are they the ramblings of an unsettled mind? Maybe, as some has suggested, they are just our digestion moving chemicals around the body whilst we sleep. I'd say these hypotheticals have some bearing, but from my own journey and experiences of that strange timeless land we call dreams, certainly not all. My personal faith tells me that as humans, dreams are a link to a divine communication. No, this is not a religious flag waving in any way. It has nothing to do with religion. For me, it's a statement of fact and an unshakable part of what it is to be alive. And I cannot describe something so fantastic any other way. It's apparent when certain dreams come, they are nothing to do with my digestion or that previous day's influences. They are only explained as coming from something or somewhere else. So described by me as divine, in my opinion that is. My guest on this week's show is Michael Sheridan. Michael is Ireland's favourite dream expert. He was a regular on the #1 TV talk show in Ireland, Ireland AM, as well as a regular on Ireland's most popular radio shows, including The Inbox on 98 FM. In his presentations, he has shared the stage with movie stars such as Paddy McMahon and Frank Vincent. He's appeared on the BBC and countless other premier media outlets, interpreting dreams for his ever-growing wide and diverse audience from every walk of life. He is the author of 2 books, which we will touch upon later in this show, as well as a radio host with his own show on KKNW, titled So You Think You're Awake. Michael now lives in Seattle in the USA and also runs the Dream Interpretation podcast, which I can thoroughly recommend, available on all the usual platforms. Michael's passion is to see people become all they came here to be and to live their life to its fullest potential. He does this by interpreting those dreams. He can give clear direction on your life's purpose, reveal the gifts that you brought with you, to help achieve that purpose and uncover the blocks you need to overcome, and thus then step into the alignment. Michael is all about helping people and has been dedicated to the subject of dreams since the mid-90s. Can we cover this huge subject in one episode? Probably not, but we will certainly explore all we can with the time we have. So without further delay, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Michael Sheridan to the show.
Thanks for having me, Simon.
Let's get the ball rolling on this one. Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do and what led you to investigate dreams more closely than most of us, and dedicating, as you do now, professionally, most of your time and energy to this massive subject.
So, I live in Seattle. I'm from Dublin, Ireland. Moved to Seattle 10 years ago, but I spent 5 years in America before. And, actually having an accent here helps me. Americans love accents. I think they're pretty unique that way. But what got me into dreams? It was actually kind of a coincidence. A friend of mine visited this guy, and he had a regression, and he had the most amazing experience. And he called me up and he said, Michael, you were in it. You have to go for regression with this guy. So I called up and I was like, okay, how do I book an appointment? And the guy says, well, regression isn't for fun. It's part of a therapy. And so I had to say, I agreed to work on myself if I went and got a regression and all that. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, this is crazy. How come Stuart didn't have to do this? So I go and I do the thing. And he tells me that he had this dream course that was coming up if I wanted to do it. I told my sister. I was a really long way of getting around to this. I didn't really want to do it. And she did. And my reluctance made us miss the first week. She didn't want to do it on her own, and she dragged me along. And it was the best thing I ever did in my life. I submitted a dream. Really, I went there to ridicule and just poke holes in everything they were doing, because that was my normal nature at the time. And I handed one of my dreams in, and it was interpreted anonymously in the group. And they described me to a T. It was stunning beyond belief. How they didn't know it was my dream, I don't know, because my jaw was on the floor. And it didn't just describe good things about me. It was like warts and all were on display. And I had been searching for what the meaning of life was for about a year and a half at that stage. I never found it. And I realized, oh my God, my dreams are it. All this time that I've been searching, my dreams have all the answers. And I mistakenly thought that the people in the group who interpreted it had learned that much in 1 week. And I'm like, I got to play catch up. But that wasn't true. The person who interpreted my dream had done his courses many years before and was coming back for a refresher. But a lot of things conspired to make me realize the value of dreams. But that was basically it. And I threw myself into it, learned a lot about myself. I did every course this guy would teach. And then even more, I even went into partnership with him. We worked together for years. And I couldn't believe how much our dreams tell us about our lives and why we're here and what we're meant to be doing. And that most of us are oblivious to the messages of those dreams.
Because you were on some of the most popular radio stations in Ireland. I believe it was the Inbox 98 FM television.
Yes.
And I'm guessing listeners would ring up with their dreams, and you would have to, not cold read, that's the wrong way to put it. You would have to do your best job to interpret. That was early days before you moved to America. Just talk us a little bit about that, please.
So, yeah, it was weird. We went into partnership, I decided to give it a name rather than Michael Sheridan. I called it Ashling Dream Interpretation. And Ashling is the Irish word for dream. And because I picked that, because I gave it a name, when I was doing an exhibition in the RDS in Dublin later that year, the TV station, RTE in Ireland, phoned me up and asked, would I go on air with Jerry Ryan? And he was really popular, one of the most popular broadcasters on the radio. And he had a show on the TV as well. And just doors opened like that all the time for me. It was bizarre, not just because of the name, but just, there's 200 or 300 exhibitors at this exhibition. And I kept getting picked. And I did a show on 98 FM, like premier station in Dublin. And I was on for 2 hours, meant to be a 15-minute segment. I was on for 2 hours. It was absolutely fantastic. The phones lit up like a Christmas tree. And the DJ, he was really, really good. He was giving me tips about how to stay calm and cool and not panic, like just by the fact that you're being interviewed and all that sort of stuff. And I've used what he's taught me so much over the years. But they asked me to come back. And so for years, for a very long time, I was on that show every 2 weeks. And then I also got a gig on another radio station, FM 104, another big popular one. And I was on with them for years too. And it just happened. I was even on the BBC a few times. Just because I do dreams and everybody dreams, I guess it's a subject that a lot of people are interested in. I do remember that first show I ever did. One guy called up and he was like livid that I would just say flat out about people's dreams, what they were saying and what it meant about them and what they needed to do to work on themselves. And this guy was just beyond himself and really, really mad. And the DJ persuaded him to share 2 of his dreams. He's like, well, if you think he's full of it, give Michael 2 of your dreams. The DJ's name was Aidan Cooney, by the way. Hat tip to him. But he persuaded him and he gave me a dream and I analyzed it. And he says, okay, that does describe me to a T. And then he gave me another one and he just completely turned around. And I talked to many people afterwards. They said that because of addressing this guy who was like screaming at me and then him agreeing that the analysis works, it just switched them on to me. So it was cool.
Is there, maybe jumping ahead a little bit and we'll go back, was there a common theme back then for a collective of people, let's say 20 people rung up, as opposed to now? In other words, do our dreams reflect the society around us? So did you have a theme back then with those people years and years ago in Ireland and a theme
I know
now?
what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
No, here's the way it works. I've done thousands of radio shows and the segments were typically a half hour to an hour each. And generally what would happen is the first few people would get on the line and their dreams would all be different because they haven't heard anything on the show yet. And when I say somebody would phone in and say, I dreamt of my son who passed over, then other people who had similar dreams would remember them and they would phone in. So it would tend to be whatever you opened up with the first few dreams would often set the tone for the show. Because it would spark it in other people, but not really. There was no common thing. There are certainly common dreams, and I have on my website a list of 10 of the most common dreams, and 60% of us have had at least one of those dreams. And I often do it in my classes. I say, okay, here's the most common. Hands up who's had one of these dreams, and everybody puts a hand up. So there definitely are common dreams, but the interpretation and the impact and what they mean about your life is going to be very personal. Take being chased is a very common dream. And it's about something in your past, because anything behind you in a dream is about your past. And something in your past you're trying to avoid is going to catch up with you. And you really need to turn around and look at it, work on it and heal whatever that is. It's almost always something from childhood, maybe how mom or dad treated you or reacted to your arrival on the planet. So that would be really common. Another really common one would be being naked in a dream. And a lot of people hate those dreams because it's like they suddenly realize, gosh, I'm in the middle of town or I'm in class and I'm naked. But it's a really good dream. Clothes in dreams represent attitudes. And so being naked is about not being afraid to be yourself and let people see you as who you really are. And so it's a very encouraging dream. So it means that there's something going on in your life right now that your higher self is saying, this is a time for you to be yourself. Don't try dress yourself up a particular way. Just be you.
Did you say that anything behind you usually represents the past? Like say, running away from... Right, that's really, really interesting. Okay, then, my turn. My dream memory is akin to the most delicate... You've got to know, Michael, I try and be poetic here. Is akin to the most delicate strand of spider silk observed on a spring morning. That is to say, once my day is in full swing, that thread is impossible to see again or even to recall that I'd seen it. A recent dream of mine, so maybe a fortnight ago, when you agreed to come on the show, I thought I'd write it down, or at least the highlights. I experienced, there were 2 ginger kittens in a box, a plastic box. There was a shop manager. He was a nice guy, at least I think, what I can remember. It was an unfamiliar place, and I didn't ask myself, what am I doing here? I was thinking, will I take them? But he decided to have them. They were really nice cats. What really could you make of that?
Okay, so you're only remembering a snippet of a dream, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And so if you look up my book, you'll see in the dictionary, I say cats are about your digestive system. And then if you look up the color orange, now you use the word ginger in the dream, I say that's also about your digestive system because it's the color of the chakra that feeds that part of your body. And so you have 2 symbols straight away that indicate an issue with your digestive system. Now, it's not really indicating a problem. We don't see anything in the dream that shows what, like, here's a big problem, but it still is about your digestive system. And then it connects it to dad because we have a male in the dream who, rather than let you take them, wants them for himself. So there's issues with dad that impact your digestive system. And we know that the issues go back to birth because of the box. A box is a symbol in a dream indicating birth or the womb, really. But it's too little of a dream really to sink your teeth into. But that's okay, because if we were talking and not on the air, I would say, tell me about your relationship with your dad and tell me what your digestive system is like. How are things going? But a lot of the time, though, it could be about something you ate that didn't agree with you around that time. So some dreams have a sell-by date. You know, what they're telling you about is no longer relevant in your life. Maybe because you worked on yourself, or just because, like I said, there's something you did or ate at that time that you don't normally eat, and it's never going to come up again.
That's interesting, actually. You said that. Very interesting. Cats have been I suppose, almost a constant theme in my dream. I remember a kitten, I don't know, maybe too much for that, sitting on my shoulder. They've never, ever been aggressive. Never been aggressive. But is there a way we can, let me think, what would be the benefits of, because I've always thought to myself, if I write every dream that I can remember down over 1 month and do a basic highlight of every single day, you're not like word for word, because I just have not got enough time, and compare the 2 over a month, would there be any value in that?
It depends. There's an awful lot of nonsense written about dreams. So if you're using a dream book that is not accurate, then there's no value. It could send you the wrong way. But let's leave dream books aside. If you're looking at your dreams and you see a kitten, and the kitten has a problem, but in a later dream, the kitten is well and improving and so on and so on, then that would show you that something you're doing in your life is improving whatever the condition, whatever this dream is about. And like I said, the box represents childhood, but so does the fact that it's a kitten, because it's still a baby. And, so there's all these things in a dream. So you'd see, okay, when I dream of animals, are they always baby animals, or do they, are they getting older or whatever? And we, ideally in our dreams, everybody would be around our own age, because if I dream of a child, it's going to be about an issue I have from childhood, or something I'm neglecting since childhood. It doesn't have to be negative. And the dream is asking us to go back and fetch that. So, for instance, you most likely have the ability to channel because you had 2 kittens in the dream. And the dream would also be saying you could help yourself with that ability by working on your digestive system, healing that, because the 2 energies are connected, and healing the issues around dad. Again, I'm jumping the gun really with saying issues with dad, because the only thing that's negative in the dream is the shopkeeper decided to keep them. That's kind of weird. He's a guide in a dream. Normally whatever a guide does is infallible. So, but they can often show you the way dad was.
It wasn't, I didn't get any fear or anger. I think it was almost like 2 guys debating who should have them. It was almost like a nice thing. I said, well, if you want them, you could have them. There was no
snatching away.
Yeah.
It was just. I suppose every dream is weird, but is, as far as you know, dream symbolism pretty much universal in your experience across the world? You know,
Totally is. Yeah.
It is, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I get dreams from people from all sorts of cultures and every language, and despite the translations and so on, there is a universal meaning to particular symbols. They're called archetypes in some of the dream books, like Jung calls them archetypes. But you can override the universal meaning of a symbol by having your own personal association with that particular place, or even an animal or anything like that. So you always have to be careful when analyzing a dream that you know the details about the person so that you can work that in. I mean, if you were to take, going to Spain in a dream is often going to be about healing because it's a hot country and we usually go there for vacation, relax and so on. But the sun is a symbol for healing in a dream. But if you were in Spain and you got mugged, well, Spain's going to mean something different for you because it's going to bring up this other thing. Right. And so you will then instantly override what Spain would normally mean for everyone else. But the other thing that's really interesting is when I came to America, I joined the dream group and I wanted to answer exactly that question that you're asking. Is the meaning of dreams and is the way people approach dream interpretation in America the same as the system I understand? And so I got these people who were avid dream interpretation enthusiasts for years and ran them through one of my courses. And most of them, their symbols were the same as mine, but others who had read other books and that they really believed in, their symbols had switched to the meanings in those books. But after doing my course, their symbolism switched back. And so that's interesting. And I've seen that several times, that the way my dictionary says this dream means this or this symbol means this is because I've taken it from a real dream where I've worked with the person to find out exactly what's going on in their life. And so I will say, okay, this symbol means this, and it can mean maybe 3 or 4 different things based on context, and I'll give the context, but all from real dreams. And I also channel a lot. So if I see a symbol and I don't know what it means, I will ask my guides, what is that? What is that about? And so they always will give what it means. They also help me. If there's a personal meaning that somebody has, they'll tell me what that one is for them too. But I like that. I like the symbolism. And if I get a symbol that I don't understand, it sticks with me. And then years later, I'll see it in another dream. And I'll be like, oh, that's what that means. That's fantastic. And I'll go back to the old dream and see, does it fit in that context? And it always does. I just find it like fantastic that they work that way. Of course, if you come from like very different countries with different cultures, then there could be extra symbols that mean something to you. Like I know in Ireland, we have the expression, my stomach is cat if your stomach's upset. Mm-hmm. They don't have that in America, but cats still are about the digestive system and other things. But if your cultural expression is uniquely different or suppressed because you're living in a country that is different from your place of origin, then you can dream about that culture or dream about symbols that say, please include your culture as part of who you are. So dreams don't whitewash culture, but the symbolism is the same.
So the people you help, are they approaching you just for help psychologically? I mean, up to and including PTSD maybe, and also because you mentioned guides, this is a big question, go wherever you want with it, on a spiritual level as well?
Well, dreams are spiritual. Dreams are a message from your higher self to your soul. And in the dream state, we fully understand them. So we don't have a problem that there's a talking elephant in our dream or whatever it is. It's like, that's totally fine because I know what it means. But when we look at them with our logical mind, then it's different. And we can learn about ourselves by investigating what that dialogue is. What am I being asked to do? Or what is my soul being asked to do in that dream? And then when I know what it is, I can then take steps in that direction consciously. And so it's easy to tell from somebody's dream whether they're in therapy, and if they're in therapy, if it's working, because you will see the symbols that show them being brave or doing what the dream asks them to do. At some point in a therapy, that's how your dreams will switch. Most of the time we're running away, we're avoiding, or whatever it happens to be, we're spoiling the dream in some way. But when you're in therapy, we hit a point where we just accept the message because we have put ourselves into alignment by the work we're doing, into alignment with what we need to do.
So have we come to a point in our society, not doom and gloom, because unless the dreams give you a clear answer, including a text that you can print off, really the human animal has forgotten to maybe wake up, stay still, and try and remember what was, I don't know, could I use the word taught to them or spoken to them or shown them? But we just don't do that. We just think, well, I don't. I just think, oh, that was weird, and carry on with my day.
Yeah, a lot of us are that way. But we still, like I said, we know what the dream means in the dream state. And so over time, we still accept the message. But not everybody does that. That's our culture. Western culture fits into what you said. But even within Western culture, like Einstein said, all of his work was an extrapolation of a dream he had as a kid where he was sledding at the speed of light. Descartes came up with the whole scientific method from a dream. The benzene molecule was unlocked when the dreamer dreamt of a snake eating its tail. The sewing machine was invented by a guy dreaming about primitive people shaking spears at him, and there was holes in the tips of the spears. So even in our own culture, people still do at times in their lives respond to their dreams, and they're always majorly pivotal.
Do you think we should be waking up and maybe trying to remember and write them down?
Well, of course, I'm going to say yes, because I'm a dream analyst. But really, there's no question to it. But I was the same. I ignored everything about my dreams. I have terrific dream recall. That was always a given. But I ignored them for years, and I would ridicule anybody who was into dream analysis or tarot reading or channeling or psychic readings, etc. I was the guy who would mock them openly and wouldn't even let them escape to another room. I'd follow them into another room and keep mocking them. But what happened to me was I was going to bed one night and I saw spirits at the end of my bed, and I didn't believe in spirits. I didn't believe in the afterlife. I was an atheist at the time. But yet I knew what I was looking at. The same way I jokingly say, if you saw a dinosaur outside your house for the first time, you'd still know it was a dinosaur, even though you never saw one before. True. And it woke me up and made me realize there's more to life. And I was on this journey for a few years trying to figure out what it is. I thought at the start, because now I've awakened and I realized I was wrong, that the answers are just going to come flooding to me, but they didn't. It was a really frustrating journey. And it wasn't until I hit dreams, like I said, it was suddenly I realized, oh my God, all this time I've been searching outside myself. I have the answers on the inside. And all I need to learn how to do is how to understand the language of dreams.
And there I'm thinking is the key, and maybe the advantage of writing them down. So your most prominent problems or situations that need attention that you're, because often we're just too blinded with life. There's just too much going on. And the most important things shown in your that needs to be sorted now, shown in your dreams, either once, or are they repackaged because you didn't get the point? And I'm talking you as in the general, us, all of us, and shown again.
Yeah, absolutely. They're repackaged over and over. So dreams are going to show us the same issue until we deal with the issue. And that's how you know that a therapy actually finally succeeded. You will stop dreaming about the problem. So we get dreams for one of three reasons: to guide us, to heal us, or to just show us how we are. And that last one is usually because we don't think we're that way. We normally think I'm further up the ladder than that. So if we accept the guidance, then perfect, our dreams will change. But if we don't, then we're going to have another dream like if I have a dream that says, okay, this is your issue, you have issues with mom, you need to work on these. If I do nothing about that, then 5 years from now, 15 years from now, 25 years from now, I'm going to have the same dreams. They may not be the same symbols, but the interpretation will be the same because I haven't done anything to move myself forward.
Is there any way that I could, not chemically, induce a specific dream or an answer for a problem? There's some folklores, pick up books and bits and pieces, write on a bit of paper, look at it, go to sleep. Is there, asking for advice, or is that just silly?
Yeah? No, it's not silly. No. So our dreams are going to, by default, pick on the most or the weakest aspect of our functioning today. But if you are going to sleep, you can meditate on it or do some other tool, like you said, write it on a piece of paper, put it under your pillow, whatever. And say that repeatedly over a number of nights, that I'm going to have a dream that solves this problem, gives me the solution to this problem. Then it will eventually bubble up to being the most important thing that you need an answer to, and you will get a dream about it. Hopefully you're going to remember the dream. So what you would always add to that message that you're giving yourself is that you're going to have a dream about it and you're going to remember the dream. And it's just how the brain works. You were talking about your dreams being like a thin spider thread, and they're gone pretty quickly when you wake up. But if you have it written on a piece of paper that you're going to remember the dream, then you have that level of excitement and association in your brain that you're going to have the recall. And it just works over time. It just works. It doesn't take a lot of time. 3 days or so would generally be enough for you then to have a dream about it. But then will you understand the dream? Hopefully it'll be in a way that you'll understand.
Yeah, aka your books, because you go pretty deep into that, and failing that, people can get a hold of you for your interpretation of their dream. Because I like to think that it's almost like how is it? It's definitely miraculous, spiritual, in my opinion, not as in religious. That's not what I'm talking about. The miraculous. I don't think the body. We can have a curry, and that would induce some sort of weird dream, but they're not a. I don't believe anything in nature is wasted. There's definitely a reason for them, but it's finding what it means. And you're saying, look around you, look at yourself at this very time, because it must be relevant for that night or this week or this month.
Yes, absolutely. And so a lot of our dreams are going to be telling us what our abilities are, our special abilities. So I had dreams for a long time that told me I knew how to interpret dreams, but I didn't know that because I didn't know how to interpret them. And it's going to be true for everyone. Everybody has at least one ability. And, we call some of them spiritual abilities. Like if it's an ability to communicate with spirits, then definitely it's a spiritual ability. But so too is counseling. So too is teaching, leading people. There are music. There are a lot of skills that are spiritual that we wouldn't necessarily consider spiritual. If it includes expression of who you are at your core, or expression of your soul, then it's a spiritual endeavor for you. And so a lot of things that we would consider just ordinary, everyday things are in fact spiritual abilities.
So nightmares, we have to talk about that. Is, from what you've said before, behind you, is that something your past you really, really do need to face? Like always being chased, or I used to quite regularly, touch wood, I haven't had it. There used to be some, as William Shatner would say, something in this place, whether it could be a house or anything. That's all I could describe it. I couldn't see it, but it was absolutely terrifying. This was the essence of terrifying. I haven't had it lately, but I've had it all the way through my life. And a lot of people have those terrifying dreams. So is it just either spirit or yourself saying, you need to face this?
It's your higher self saying you need to face it. And your reaction in the dream and the sense of fear and terror is how reluctant you are to do it, because you're like, this was terrifying at the time. Mm-hmm. Why would I look at that again? And that's a very common thing to see in dreams. But then when you work with a therapist, they help you look at it in a way that isn't terrifying. And the terror that we have, that's as that dream follows us all the way through life, is because the issue was from childhood when we didn't have the frame of reference that we have now, and so it would have felt terrifying to us at the time. But it's interesting to note, though, that the interpretation of a nightmare isn't necessarily anything negative. Obviously, one where you're being chased may be, but I have one in my book where a person was being a magician at the front of a stage, was trying to get the person to rise up into the air and bring her onto the stage. But instead, she didn't want that to happen. She dug her heels in and wanted to walk her way to the front of the stage to go there. And so that was a nightmare to her. But the dream is about her having a way to easily rise above her problems, but she doesn't want to use that. Instead, she wants to dig her heels in, and she fights tooth and nail against the easy way to do things. So nothing negative in the interpretation, but it still comes as a nightmare because, you're going to remember a nightmare, and much more easily than you're going to remember a regular dream. And I think sometimes that's why we get them that way. It is also worth noting my dictionary is totally free on my website, so you don't need to buy the book to try out the dictionary.
We will be right back after this message.
This is the Slick Podcast News. Our Eye in the Sky reporter, reporting live.
Hi, I'm Morgan, and later this week, I'll be reporting to you live from the Atlantic Ocean floor, bringing you the latest news on the Slick Podcast's attempt at opening the ancient shiny thing that we have all come to know as the artifact. See you there.
The Slick Podcast. The Slick Podcast. Yeah, it's a Slick Podcast, truly unforgettable topic. This is Slick Podcast.
I have to ask you, you've answered this in a roundabout way, but it's more of a direct question to a direct subject. So somebody's had terrible trauma. I have a few friends that were in the military, and they do suffer with nightmares. Could you, or with a therapist, which you are in a way, could you help someone with those nightmares? Make them go away.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. Right? Can you just talk us a little bit through that?
So there is, if anybody has that particular issue, there is an acquaintance of mine. That's exactly what she does. She helps people with those severe traumas work through the nightmares and heal issues. And it doesn't take many sessions. It's not like you're in therapy for a year. It's just a few sessions. And then those dreams stop. Dreams are always trying to get us to look at something that is a problem that holds us back. And if you, like, a lot of research was done into people who survived the Holocaust, and they had the most peaceful dreams during their captivity and while they were enduring the horrors they endured. But once they were freed, their dreams turned to nightmares. And it's like your higher self knows when you're in an environment where you can heal an issue. And so when you have this persistence from your dreams that says, look, you got to work on that trauma that you suffered, it's because you really do need to work on that trauma and heal from that trauma. But that's what life is about. Life is about us healing and growing because of trauma. My field where I really help people is I help people heal childhood traumas. They're often much more hidden, but you can see them when you talk to anybody. You can see them clearly in their dreams, and then you can help them identify how it impacts their life, what traits they have that are a result of the trauma. And those traits will all disappear. They're always a negative trait, but they'll disappear once you heal the trauma. And people quite often will be astounded at the idea that I don't even need to work on healing this trait, but if I heal the trauma, I lose it. It seems kind of bananas, but we try our best to protect ourselves from enduring the worst trauma of our lives again. We don't want to endure it again. And so we adopt the particular traits that are going to keep it as far from us as possible. At least that's our intention. It doesn't always work, but that's what we want to do. But the best thing, and so we spend a lot of energy doing that, and our dreams show us wasting that energy and show us holding back from life or whatever it is we're doing that's detrimental to our own well-being. And so the dreams are trying to get us to address that so that we can heal it and then embrace life more fully.
I'm putting a link to your website, obviously, in the show notes. Could you send me the link for your friend?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll put that at the bottom of the show notes as well. That's always useful. Okay, let's just cover lucid dreaming as well. There's a lot of substances you can get on Amazon, lucid dreaming tea and that sort of thing. Do you put any value in those, or should we, or is it harmful to teach yourself? I don't think I'd be happy, but to teach yourself to interact with your dream, or is that a cheat, or would you advise against it?
No, it's okay. It depends on what you want to do with it. So if we can analyze dreams when we don't interfere with the message. So becoming lucid is where you become aware that you're in a dream. And there's various levels of lucidity. The first level is you're just aware that you're in a dream, but nothing else changes. And you're still afraid of things. You still are doing the same things that you would have done. And the next level is where you lose your fear, or you interact and change things because you're aware it's just a dream. That's kind of a good level if you can get to that. And you have a sense of what the dream is about, because then you can really embrace the healing and embrace the message of the dream. So I think it is quite good. But what a lot of people do is they go to the next level of lucidity, which is where they decide, hey, I'm in a dream, I'm going to fly. And they just completely change the dreamscape. That level isn't any good, doesn't do you any good. It may be fun, but because you've changed the dream or gone somewhere else than where the dream was set, then you can't interpret it after that point.
I suppose it puts a filter on it as well. When you should be asleep and listening, as it were, you're not. You're trying to control, and you're maybe missing the point. Would that be a fair assumption, maybe? But
you can train yourself to do the right thing in those dreams. So, for instance, anybody with a title or who speaks with authority in a dream is a guide, like the shopkeeper in your dream is a guide. Mm-hmm. And they are the only characters in a dream who are infallible. So if you become lucid and you can identify a guide, you can ask them what the dream is about. Like, why am I having this dream? Or you can ask any character in the dream what they represent. Like, what do you represent in this dream? And most of the time they will answer. But if you find a guide, you can ask them about anything, and they will answer honestly about whatever it is. I had a friend, in fact, I had two friends. Their goal was to become lucid in their dreams and then meet each other. And they were trying to see for years, could they actually meet each other in their own dreams? And then I came across two other people who were doing it as well, and they succeeded. And so once they finally met up with each other in a dream, they're able to do it at will now, which is really astounding to think that you could do that. And it raises more questions than what it could possibly answer. But in the beginning, they realized that they had dreams where they were in the same part of a town. Like right before they did it successfully, one was saying to the other, I dreamt I was on Dame Street and I was looking out a taxi window. And the other guy was like, I was on Dame Street as well, and I was in a taxi, and there was someone else in the taxi, but I didn't look that direction. I was looking out a window, and they were looking out different windows. And that gave them the encouragement, and the very next dream, then they met up, and now they can do it anytime they want. It's also another thing that's interesting is if you have where this happens spontaneously, where people find themselves in the same dream, is if you have a loved one who's really sick and maybe ready to cross over, people in that situation quite often find that mom has a dream and the daughter has the exact same dream. They're both in the dream doing the same thing. So it is intriguing.
That seems to me the effect of quantum entanglement. I mean, scientists talk about quantum entanglement. I believe, my understanding is the effect. They don't know how or why it happens, but to me, on some spiritual dream plane level, that is quantum entanglement. They are not connected physically. It cannot be anything else. If they're both lucid and they're both saying, yeah, I saw you, you saw me, it really does open a Pandora's box, does it not?
It does. Lucid is one thing where you're aware that you're in a dream, but these other ones are where people just have the same dream, but not even aware that they're in a dream. It's just when they tell their dream to their significant other in their household and realize, wow, we had the exact same dream. And that's because I'm sure it's because their concern for the same person has them doing the same things. When we sleep at night, we often leave our body, telepathically leave our body and go to the astral plane. And we talk with loved ones who are alive or who have passed, whatever. Most of us don't have those memories of those encounters, but some do. You can tell them from dreams because there's dialogue in the dreams, basically. But so I think they have the same concern, the same issues, same conversations, and then they end up having the same dream when they get back into the bodies and have the dreams because of that connection, that shared connection for the issue.
So let me ask you, when a shaman, and I don't mean somebody who's sent off for a book course and like reads it 4 times and tells everybody they're a shaman, because I have a very dim view of that. I mean, a shaman is somebody who's been really trained from a young child, a proper shaman. When a shaman would travel to the realms of dreamland, let's say, are they going to the same plane as maybe you and I when we go to sleep, or are they going to a different place, albeit lucidly and for a reason they're going? But is that the same plane or a different place altogether, do you think, in your opinion?
They can go to the same plane, but they can also go a lot further because of the training they have. And I understand what you're saying about shamans. It used to be that it was somebody who survived a near-death experience, so should have died but didn't. They would be then selected by the existing shaman to be trained because they've torn the veil between both worlds. And because of that tearing of the veil, they can be trained in particular modalities that can only be taught to somebody who that has happened to. And that's not what's done anymore. People are basically just, they do courses. They're very in-depth and you can still learn a lot of things on these. And people do end up with lots and lots of skills. But discipline is one of the things I think that's super, super important if you are going to learn that level of interaction with the spirit world, because you can do damage and you can hurt yourself and other people with it as well. Not that I know people who do that, but you have to be careful. There's a reason that we give up our power before coming here. It's so that we don't go backwards in our life journey rather than forwards. We come here to heal, basically. We come here to move closer into the light. And the things in our life, the traumas, the issues, they give us a focal point to show us that, it reflects to us. Like if we look around, like if our natural state of being is one of absolute reverence, that's our natural state of being. But many people on this planet hold that state. I don't. And I'd say there's very few people who do. But when you look around in your life and look at the people in your life, whatever you feel, if somebody brings up disgust in you or anger or hatred or whatever it is, that's only because that feeling is already there within you. And your life is designed to help you purge that feeling by working on yourself and growing and getting closer into the light. And we leave our power behind on purpose because it's going to be easier to work on ourselves when we do it. I've kind of digressed there from your question. Apologies there.
No, actually, I'm really glad you did, because it's a really good opener. So whatever, I've said this before, whatever looks out from behind these eyes of mine, I've no idea. My parents called me Simon. I run the Simon Laurie King podcast, which is handy because that's my name. So when you're saying like, well, we come into our bodies, this and the other. So the dream world, the dreamscape, do you think that is a glimpse of from wherever this thing that I call myself came from? Or was it just something that it tapped into, almost like a broadband network?
No, I don't think so. It's not where you come from. Parts of it reflected, of course, like we can change things in a dream at the speed of thought. Our thoughts create our reality and they do so in a dream. Like when you see a really negative character in a dream or you have a nightmare, those dreams won't have started out to be a nightmare. Your higher self won't say, hey, let's give Simon a nightmare. But it becomes a nightmare because of the subject matter, and you don't like the subject matter. And so a character that's meant to be healing and positive becomes somebody that you're running away from in the dream. And so it has that in common. But we have, it's just a language. If you're clairvoyant, the meaning of the symbols that you get with clairvoyance is the same as the dream language. But if you learn to channel, your guides or angels may talk to you using a whole host of different ways, through feeling, through vision, through images, through hearing, through thoughts impressed on your mind, through just knowing things. There's about 11 strong ways that people channel. And so I think they would be closer to the actual communicative state that we have. It's kind of like our whole being connected, rather than symbolic interpretations like the dream state. Like the world around us is an illusion that we live in order to help us wake up. And our dreams are other illusions that are also designed to help us wake up. And when I channeled and asked, like, why do dreams come the way they come? The answer I got was if we anchored anything to anything, if you're always given the same symbol for something, then you would start to believe in that symbol. You would believe that that's who you are. And so they said they use symbolism that keeps changing in order to get across the message that none of this is the real world. It's all tools to help you look inward and try to figure out who you are.
It seems to me that the dreams that I have, or the dreams that I've heard other people have, are not sympathetic at all to the ego. In fact, they're counterproductive and have almost the key to unlock the ego, throw it into little pieces and get to the heart of the matter. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we do need some element of ego, to want to get up in the morning and do something, or have ambition in certain areas in our lives. But if it holds you back because of mistaken beliefs about yourself, then your dreams are going to certainly rattle that cage. And say,
we all have ego. I mean, I've got my own podcast. We've all got ego. But what I meant was, it's almost like the gloves are off. It can get past anything to get that message through.
Yeah.
It really doesn't care, no matter how strapping tough people are.
Yeah, they're brutally honest. They're brutally honest. They just tell you how it is.
Yeah,
the punches aren't held.
No, not at all. No. So what about other people in dreams where I've seen their faces? I have no idea who they are, but they're young, they're fit, or they're old. They never look sickly. Would it be somebody that maybe I've seen, maybe on a poster or in a book I've read, or on the internet? Because they seem really real, and there's almost a sense of loss when I wake up.
Yeah. So it's a good question. And that's a very common experience for a lot of people. But everybody in a dream is you. There's 4 rules of interpretation. The first one is the most important, that everything in a dream is you. So every person, place, thing, animal, etc., they all represent some aspect of you. So the people you don't know in your dream represent aspects of you that you have lost connection with. And the point of the dream is to highlight that you've lost connection. And also other parts of the dream will contextually tell you what you need to do to restore that connection.
So, but would it be possible that it's some sort of glimpse of the future? And I'm not talking lottery numbers. I have a friend of mine, I'm hoping to get on the show. She reads tarot cards. She's clairvoyant. I've had a professional dowser. And I've asked a professional dowser, and I've asked my friend, things like lottery numbers, and they both tell me, no, that's not the way it works. That you'll fall on your ass if you start asking stuff like that. But is that the same sort of thing for dreams? Are these people? Could it be like something, maybe a person I'm going to meet in the future? How would I tell if it's actually me looking at myself, or some aspect, like you say, or maybe somebody I'm going to see in the future?
Yeah, so that does happen. It's not as common, but people do dream of their child as an adult before they ever have a child. They do dream of their partner or a very significant person in their lives before they meet them. But like I said, not that common. Most of it is about aspects of you that you need to work on. So how do you know that it's about something in your future? Well, it's easy. In a dream, I said anything behind you is your past. Anything in front of you is in your future. So if you're driving and you go around the corner, or you're walking and you go around the corner, and you encounter somebody, then that says this is somebody you're going to meet in your future. And it may be an aspect of you that you're going to have to deal with, but it could be a positive one. So it isn't necessarily you have to deal with it. It could be a gift you have. It could be your own ability to be clairvoyant, for instance, that it's in your future. And you can tell if that's true because the path of the dream brings you to where you meet a clairvoyant. So you could dream about meeting a clairvoyant. They're not at the start of the dream, but you go on a journey and then encounter them. So this is something that's going to be in your future, and the dream is firmly anchoring it there. But yeah, like I said, seeing it ahead of you is the best way to know it's something in your future.
Let's talk a little bit of dream symbolism, if you don't mind. First, the ones that the classic I used to have. Thankfully, I haven't. Jumping down the stairs. And at that point thinking, what the hell have I just done? You know, falling from height and your stomach turns upside down. What would something like that would mean?
So in those dreams, do you end up flying or do you like lightly bounce on the ground?
I wake up before I hit the ground.
All right, okay.
You know, I've had sand dunes and it's always the sand dune or the stairs. I mean, it hasn't happened for years, but it's what the hell was I thinking? Then I suddenly jolt awake, thank goodness.
So there's two things it can be about. The first is birth, moving from a high location to a low location, or high vibration to a dense physical location is what we do when we come into the physical body. And so walking down the stairs, jumping down the stairs, jumping off a building, etc., can all indicate your birth. And then if your first feeling is, what the hell did I just do? Then it's like you got here and that was your reaction. Why did I come here? That was a bad idea. It isn't bad.
It was the shortest line at the time. I could have gone somewhere else, but this was the shortest queue, so I joined the queue for Earth.
It is. I mean, the Earth plane is really a shortcut back to raising our vibration and our awareness of who we are. But the other thing, and I don't think that's what your dream is about. It was what I just said. Mm-hmm. The other thing about falling in a dream is very common, and that's about moving back into your body from the astral plane. And it's such a common one. And I always hate it if I'm on a radio station or the TV and people ask it, because it sounds so batty, because you're trying to be grounded and say, this dream is about this aspect of your life, and this dream is about this other aspect, and it's about you working on yourself, healing yourself. And then suddenly you're talking about moving from the astral plane back into your body. Mm-hmm. And that's what this sense of falling is about. But because you wake up afterwards, a lot of people just wake up afterwards. It does indicate that's what it's about. People also have this sense that, if I die in a dream, it's really bad. I could die in reality. But what they don't realize is that as children, you would have had dreams where you died over and over and over again. Children have horrific dreams compared to adults, mm-hmm. and they get killed and mutilated and all sorts of things multiple times every night.
I mean, I do have when you were saying about coming back into the body, quite regularly, it's almost like I'm thrown on the bed because I haven't taken a run up. As far as I'm concerned, I'm laying there, but literally every muscle flexes and it's like boom, being thrown onto the mattress.
Yeah.
It wakes me up. Is that the same sort of thing, coming back into the body?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then the beautiful thing to try do is to learn how to get out of your body and keep your consciousness, as you get out. And you can learn how to do that. It's something, I've never done it, but again, I have friends who've done it. And there's a guy called Robert Monroe. He's written lots of books about how to journey out of your body. And there's the Robert Monroe Institute. He's passed now. And I always thought, if you could do that one, if you could do something where you stepped out of your body, walked to the kitchen and back, then you could prove to yourself your consciousness or you is not really contained within your body. And it would be such a cool thing.
Well, I was talking to Dr. Piero Calvi Parasetti, and he was he's a doctor. I mean, once you're a doctor, you're not just, you never stop being a doctor until obviously you pass away. But the question, his statement didn't come up in my interview, but in a previous interview, he'd said he investigates NDE, near-death experience, and that sort of thing, and life after life. And one of the things that he said was this person was in hospital in a really bad way, and as far as she's concerned, she floated up through the floors and out through a window, and there was, like, let's just say, a red tennis shoe on the windowsill. Luckily, she came back and she survived, and she said to this nurse, I think a week later, the nurse actually went up there at curiosity, and lo and behold, there was a red tennis shoe there. So I'm all about the spirit being able to leave the body, whether involuntarily or trying to train yourself. But I think that'd be a little bit nerve-wracking for me. I do it involuntarily. I'm not sure if I have the guts to teach myself.
Well, to do it voluntarily, like that's one thing, because you're going to be guided through the process. Whereas she was doing it involuntarily, and so the near-death experience is quite a different experience. And people who have near-death experiences end up finding it very difficult to reassimilate into physical life, because they have an experience that nobody else has a frame of reference to. They very much are changed after the event. And there also is like a common set of issues they have. Like some people have big issues with sound, others can't stand bright light, and so on. So there's a list of things that affect them from that point forward. But one of the commonalities is they're absolutely certain about the afterlife. They've no question about it anymore. Most of them have no fear whatsoever of dying, because they've already been to that plane and they know it's real. Now, this person who simply floated up and back in may not have gone that far, but those near-death experiences are absolutely intriguing. And because there's such a commonality in them, it's even more so intriguing. I used to read a lot of books about those, and books by people who had those experiences. But my interest is because I had a near-death experience myself, but I was so young, I don't remember the experience, but I think it's definitely responsible for some of the abilities I have.
Just before we get to the last couple of questions, I've often thought, well, people have said that time, I mean, who am I to argue, but time is the fourth dimension, or fifth, but fourth or fifth dimension. But I usually think that maybe it's death, or now talking to you, maybe the dream reality, or dream, what's the word? The dream, the zone, the universe even. What would you say to that? But it must be a real thing. It must be a real thing, because everybody visits there.
Well, the astral plane is definitely real, and you can learn. Anybody can learn how to channel. I mean, some of us come in with the ability, and we're meant to do it, but we all have at least one ability. Everybody, most people have more than one ability, and you can always teach yourself those, or get taught how to enhance those abilities. For a lot of people, they spontaneously kick in. So there are a lot of things you can do to prove to yourself that there is more than the physical world. But a lot of us in the West, we don't do that, because we're too busy, as you said earlier, too busy living life and trying to get through the struggles of it. But that's just the culture we're in. I think that's going to change a lot. It's one thing that I've definitely noticed, because I've been doing this for over 30 years. I show people on my in-person courses how to see the aura and then how to see spirits. And I didn't used to do that for a long time. But I would be talking to people about guides and how guides influence their dreams and so on. And people will be saying, I'd love to believe you, but I don't know if I can. And I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at their guides behind them, because I could see them. And I thought, what if I could show them how to see these guides? And it worked. I couldn't believe it. It worked. And so in a room of 20 people, about 17 or 18 could see it. But now when I do it, everybody sees them. And so it's become easier for sure for people to do what we would call spiritual things. So the energy of the earth has increased and made things a lot easier. It used to be you had to spend a lifetime in a monastery to try train yourself to do something. Now you can literally do a weekend course and learn something pretty profound, which is amazing, the fact that it is that way. So I think ultimately we're heading to a future where everybody's very aware of it, or at least enough people are aware of it that there is a paradigm shift in understanding of it. And I don't mean a religious understanding. I mean an actual understanding of the spirit world and how it shapes our lives without religion interpreting it for us.
What do you put this down to? Is it an evolution of the mind, or is it
I think it's a planned phase. No, it's a planned phase by the spirit world. We've gone through 6 masculine energy ages, according to astrology. We're now moving into the first female energy age in like 12,000 years, and they're using that to that and the fact that there's a lot of spirits, really high level spirits on the planet, all working to help raise the vibration of the planet so that everybody becomes aware of it. So because this is what my guides say is definitely what's happening. The world is going to change dramatically, and people are going to be very aware of the fact that there is a spirit world and it's real, and that's where they really come from, and that they're here for a purpose, to learn something and improve and grow and get closer into the light. And it's funny if you say to somebody like, your purpose on the earth plane is to heal from trauma and move into the light, that sounds great. But if you say your purpose is to eliminate darkness, people are a bit kind of spooked by that. Like, what do you mean by that? But that's really what it's about. There's things that we do habitually in the spirit world that hold us back, almost like an addiction, you could say, that we're here to purge and escape. And once we've done that, then our vibration increases, and it's going to be easier, I think, going forward, much easier to do that, because you won't have the I need to have faith element that is kind of required today at the start of any of these journeys. In the future, it'll be pretty obvious. And so even if you can't do these things, can't see spirits, whatever, if 3 of your best friends can, and it's common, then you'll be like, okay, I know it's real because I know these people.
Well, on a personal level, I don't think I can see spirits. I mean, I've had a crow as a friend and badgers, but as far as something in the ether, I've never actually seen it. However, I do believe is the wrong word. I do know, I suppose, there is something or some things at my shoulder. Not in a weird way. I think there's something there. Just things that have happened in life that I absolutely could not have got out of, or things that I know that I couldn't have possibly known. So yeah, I always acknowledge every single day the spirits who walk me and guide me. That's the terminology I use. If I was to be able to talk to them, I don't know. I think I'll be too humbled because they would see right through me, as they can, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But the thing is, they have no judgment. So your guides have no judgment. They're here to help. They know what you're going through, and they know the particular challenges that you have given yourself this lifetime. They know everything about it. They also have access to your previous lifetime. So they know you at a level that no other being would know you. And given all that knowledge, they're going to help you achieve your goals, whether you're aware that they're there helping you or not. And so if you can get to the point where you can communicate with them, or even just have a sense about them being there, and use that to know when you're on the right track or not, I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's cool.
But I can't tell you where or when they are from, or even whom they may be, but I know they're there. So could you give us a brief guide to the warning symbols? Give us a couple of warning symbols, or even 4 warning symbols that maybe we should be looking out for in our dreams.
Well, you know what I find interesting is a lot of people are interested in what their gifts are. Like, tell me something fantastic about myself. Very few people are interested in what do I need to avoid? And your dreams are littered with those things. The health section on my website, I have thousands of pages on my website, all free. And the health pages only account for 4% of what people look at on the website, like 4% of the hits, which is appallingly bad because it's easily 20% or more of what's on my website. People are only interested in health issues when they get one. And statistics don't work with people either. Like 51% of us will die of heart-related illness. And yet most people do not care about their heart. They're not concerned about a heart attack or a stroke or any other heart-related illness that'll take them off the planet. But if you said to somebody, you better watch that, it can give you cancer, people panic. And yet that kills so few of us compared to heart attacks or heart illness. But what are the symbols? So your dreams do show those things. They always say somebody died of a sudden heart attack. There is no such thing, because your dreams will be warning you about that heart attack for years in advance, years and years in advance, in order to give you plenty of time to do something to make sure you don't have that heart attack or that stroke or whatever it happens to be. And so some of the symbols, it's going to be kind of a morbid section of this interview, but a roof on fire in a house would be a symbol for stroke, because any symbol of fire is a symbol represents the heart and emotions. When I say heart, it's primarily emotional first, expressing your emotions. But when damage is done to something like fire consumes the roof of a house, then it's talking about that neglected emotional issue then causing physical damage to your body. So if you see physical damage to something in a dream, that's a very bad symbol. Doesn't matter where it is. So if you see the fireplace is cracked in a dream, that's also about the heart. If you see the chimney, that's also about the heart. If you see a toilet bowl, that's about your elimination system, because that's what the toilet bowls are for, right? It's also a pun on bowel. But if the toilet bowl is cracked or damaged, then it's saying, hey, you need to do something to watch out so that you don't end up with a physical problem here. The ones that you never want to have are dreams of rats and mice and rust, worms, crows, etc., because they symbolize cancer. And again, don't panic when you have these dreams. Everybody has them from time to time. Everybody develops a cancer cell from time to time, but a healthy body spots it and deals with it. And so you're going to have them. It's if you have those dreams night after night after night after night, and they just don't go away, then that's the time to do something about it. A lot of the time we have them, our dreams are saying, here's something you need to do. You're not aware that you're heading towards this condition because of what you're eating, what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever it is, your dreams are going to show what it is. And then they're going to show what you need to do to alleviate or avoid the problem altogether. So, so that's pretty good that way. And other things are, it's interesting. If I'm doing a class and somebody gives me a dream, for instance, where oil is leaking from a car, I can confidently say that dreamer is anemic. And it's always interesting then, because it blows the mind of everybody else who's on the course. And then they believe everything else I say, regardless of what it is. So I look for the physical health system issues and point them out, because a person can verify it. Whereas if I was to say to you, hey, Simon, you're a channel, you could be like, well, I don't know if that's true. And nobody has an increased confidence in my interpretation because of it. But if I can point at issues that are concrete and real, then people are like, okay, this is amazing. There's something to this. So I do focus on health issues with people, because you do want to avoid them. Obviously, if you want to achieve your life purpose, you want to being healthy is part of that, staying healthy long enough to do it. So did I give you enough symbols?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's where the value is really about health. I should think mental health as well, but certainly physical health. That's where the value is. I mean, if we're just looking for, yes, you're going to be rich. Yes, you're going to marry someone and it's great. Really it's a case of gloves off. You need to face this particular problem. That to me is where the value of certainly a big chunk of dream interpretation would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I'm not a doctor, so I can't really diagnose and say, but I will send people. I would say, based on your dream, if that was my dream, I would go to a doctor. And so and I would say, here's what the issue is, here's where it is, but go get a checkup. And people then have gone and gotten the cancer dealt with because it's shown up in their dreams. And so for some people, I show them what the symbols are and how to tell what area of the body it's about. And they watch for dreams about that. And they go back for checkups and back for treatments multiple times, like with 10 years of a gap, and get treated again because they can see it coming back. And then the ultimate, which is what dreams are really trying to show, is here's where it's comes from. This is the source of this physical condition. Deal with these issues and you won't get the physical condition. And so ultimately people will eventually do that and then never have those dreams again. And that's the point of the dream.
We have only probably not even scratched the surface of this subject. But that's nearly the end of our time together, Michael. And I'm very grateful for that time you've given us today, and ask that you maybe consider coming back onto the show sometime in the future. But before we wrap up, please, could you tell us where we can find your books, and obviously name your books, radio show and podcast, and ways we can connect with you?
Absolutely. And I'd love to come back. I like your pointed shoot from the hip questions.
Thank you, Michael.
Dream-analysis.com is my website. And if you go there, you can find my podcast, my archives. You can send dreams to my radio show. And I do those for free, obviously, if I pick a dream that you send in for the show. I also have my dictionary there. You can download my dictionary. It's totally free. It's got thousands of symbols in it. And you can have a go at interpreting your own dreams. It's all there. Plus lots and lots of pages to browse and enjoy. I do lots of courses all the time, of course. And every so often we do webinars that are free, and we do very inexpensive courses that people love. I have one course, probably my most popular, where we guarantee that everybody who does the course is going to know what their spiritual gifts are and what their purpose in life is at the end of the course. And we only charge $97. So I don't know what that is, £70. Now we only do it occasionally. It's not on now, so I'm not even plugging it. But it's a really cool thing to get from your dreams. And I don't think you really see that in many places, to know what your life purpose is or what your gifts are. I think life purpose is an overused term these days. But to know what your spiritual gifts are, what it is you're meant to be developing and using, because we bring those here in order to use them to help other people and repay our karmic debts. And you definitely want to repay your karmic debts.
And your podcast, you've got a regular podcast and a radio show.
I do. So I actually have my own radio show on KKNW in Seattle. And it's at 1:00 on Mondays. And I've had that show for about 8 years now. And I turned the show into a podcast afterwards. So even if you can't listen to the show, you can always listen to the podcast. I get another person splits it up into little clips. And so you can look up dreams about particular things from those clips and just see segments of the show. But obviously I love dreams, and people sending dreams to my show is the lifeblood of the show. So if you're listening to this and you feel encouraged, do send a dream in and let me know that you heard me on Simon's podcast. And I will definitely pick a few people from this podcast and interpret dreams.
That's very kind of you. Michael Sheridan, thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Before I start this outro, I need to explain why I haven't produced any episodes for the last month or so. Unfortunately, death came calling to our family yet again, and my wife, Jet, lost her father barely 2.5 months after she'd lost her mother. I needed to focus upon and give everything of myself to my best friend in her time of most desperate need. To say that she has had the emotional shit kicked out of her is an understatement. My wife is an amazingly strong, and her fortitude and ability to face tragedy yet again with such dignity is truly humbling. Her father Mario was a good man and a loving father of 4 daughters. We will all miss him terribly, so I dedicate this episode to you, Mario, and raise a glass to the many good memories that you left us with. Upon listening to this episode, I found out that the sound quality is really poor my end, and for that I apologise. I'm putting it down to my lack of pre-show checks and rust. I will do my best to be more attentive in the future, but Michael's sound was far better, and after all, it is all about my guest. I'd like to thank Michael Sheridan for the time he gave us today, and I really enjoyed the subject matter. We couldn't possibly cover all this topic of dreams, everything that encompasses, but I did give it a good go. Remember, if you have a dream that you'd like analysed, you can contact Michael directly at mpsheridan@gmail.com or go onto his website, dreamanalysis.com, linked below in the show notes. Now, there are unique symbolisms in dreams. I am convinced through my own experience that they are specific to me, but also there are a lot that are universal and shared by many. If you want to look up for yourself a particular symbol and the dream meaning, then Michael's Dream Dictionary should definitely be checked out, and it's completely free to download off his website. Again, my apologies for the sound quality of today's show, but also my thanks to you, my dear listeners, for your patience and also attending this cast, and I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. Feel free to like and subscribe and share the show, or you can send the show an email at the SLK podcast at gmail.com, or leave a comment below. Either way, please keep them kind. You can also find and follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual podcast platforms. And so, my friends, it's time for me to go. And until next time, stay safe, be happy, and certainly not afraid. Bye.
Slick Podcast. Keeping it real and always keeping it groovy.